Take a look at that game.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm joined here by Jad and Freak to break down that very first game of Fnatic versus EDG. Whew, what a game it was. A fantastic game. Let's just start with that.
Absolutely. I mean, there were so many cool things going on here. We got to see triple teleport come out. That was interesting for sure. We got to see some really tenacious calls as well. The 21-minute semi-ace where Yellowstar makes the right call to go for Baron because the chance of a steal is actually quite low. A lot of very, very smart choices made this game.
A lot of stuff. So let's start by the early game and the picks that came out. Obviously the Jace AD carry, but maybe more surprising, all of the teleports. How did EDG use that to their advantage in the early game?
Yeah, so interestingly enough for EDG, the Jace teleport never actually teleported to make a positive play, so it played out mostly like a double teleport team with Twisted Fate, which still had a global advantage, and they mainly used the teleport bottom to try and keep map pressure on that side. You would have actually expected Fnatic to attack the teleporting AD carry since he had no second defensive summoner a little bit more early on in the game, but because that wasn't happening, EDG kept finding numbers advantages throughout the rest of the map.
And something for Fnatic, sorry to cut in, which is a change from sometimes the overconfident plays we see them making in the past couple of weeks. When it happened a couple of times that they got dove on with a couple of teleports, the next time they were careful and they waited it out.
I mean, yes and no. We actually saw a lot of kind of bad plays. There was the kill that was initially off screen, and the replay happened. Reignover chasing into a 1v2 under his own turret after Huni already got dived. Reignover's like, me too, I'll give you some kills. And the Koreans on Fnatic started out like 2-7 total or something like that. And a lot of that, to be honest, not to blame Huni for this one, but he picked himself into a bad one-on-one matchup. Jarvan's never going to 1v1 Fiora, to my knowledge. But for the team fight, it makes a whole lot of sense, be a follow-up CC. So picking for the team fight rather than the lane, EDG correctly identified to attack the lane in the laning phase because it's going to work, and sure enough, it did. But then the team fight's exactly what Fnatic picked for. Those did work out.
Yeah, then let's take a look at one of those team fights that swung the game back in the favor of Fnatic when they grouped up and, well, showed what they could do versus that EDG composition. We can roll the clip.
Yeah, and this is Fnatic only having one teleport and using it aggressively, but it's exactly the type of team fight that they're picking. The Alistair, Victor, Rek'Sai, lots of these AoE CCs, as well as the Kennen who can jump in here. Deft did not do damage in this fight. I think we saw afterwards it was something like 176, burns both summoners and still dies. But this giant cluster of particles are mainly good for Fnatic because most people are stunned inside Reckless's Kennen ultimate. Every time Fnatic could successfully group, they had the superior teamfight composition because Pawn was never set up properly. They couldn't poke very well with Deft, and the aggression of Fnatic in between the windows of being exploited by EDG's global compositions are ultimately what won them the game. And as Freak was saying earlier, this was an incredibly smart Baron call.
Right, so the only guys alive are Mako and Pawn, and Yellowstar, look at him. He's going to realize that, look, I just need to buy some time, make sure my team doesn't get AoE, so he happily walks into that. He doesn't really care. The rest of Fnatic off-take it properly, then just a very good re-engage. It's a 1 versus 3. You're pretty much never going to win a fight like that. Not a lot of damage comes out of Thresh. You know, that's good stuff there. I do want to highlight one small thing in the beginning of the team fight, though. Deft did not seem like he was all that used to playing with teleport because he teleported
like
right here.
He
TP'd on a lantern because he's used to that button being summoner heal. And I know I've like tried to run exhaust AD carry before and like done nothing with it. Like that happens sometimes, and he clearly hasn't played it enough to have the right muscle memory in a team fight.
Yeah, and there we see Fnatic huddling, of course. Need to keep calm, only 1 victory. They need to get 3 if they want to win this best of 5, but good signs for them. As we look a little bit more into the game, of course, those teleports that were very useful for EDG early, they give them kind of an insurance when it went awry in the late game, because whenever they do win a fight, they could put the pressure on the base. We have a team fight from later in the game where Fnatic sets to pressure on the top turret of EDG. We're going to take a look at that and oversteps their boundaries.
Yeah, well, I think this was an example of EDG controlling the people who were winning the fights for Fnatic. Reckless basically gets zeroed out in this fight. And it was, in my opinion, a lot of the Kennen ultimate, which was creating the ability to follow up for the rest of Fnatic. So in this one, it's mainly just Fnatic getting too aggressive at this turret. They have 2 inhibitors down, so they could have actually been a lot more patient with this until the minions were nearing the Nexus, but instead Pawn gets a good flash, and right as soon as that stun lands, the rest of EDG just piles on really well.
It's just a really good chain of engage. Clear love with the knockback in. Reckless never gets to do anything, of course. He's not going for the Zhonya's Hourglass, so the R zonings that he had a window for can't happen. And Koro honestly navigated these team fights beautifully. He's against a big team of AoE crowd control and still finds ways to turn on the ultimate, proc all 4 vitals, get a big heal, where if the team doesn't get one shot, 700 health floods back into the team, and EDG wins those fights.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about this game, though, was the willingness of both teams to pick fights. The bloodiness in this game was really high. We were nearing a kill per minute by the end of it, which is higher than by far higher than the average at Worlds and also higher than the average from the LPL or the European LCS. And I actually think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that from these teams just out of the picks from game one. Huni very willing to pick an aggressive choice, very willing to opt into weaknesses to get advantages elsewhere. So we're seeing a lot of mismatches just based on the coaching and picks and bans, which always leads to more interesting games.
Yeah, maybe to close this off, we did see the teleport strat in game one coming out of EDG. Will they completely overhaul that strategy? Would you?
I mean, maybe. Honestly, like, Def's teleport meant very little.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to take Gromp and TP in for some wards and extra potions. And his 2-on-2, despite facing a fairly scary duo lane, got to get back and get more farm, but that teleport meant basically nothing. It was a comp we've seen the entire time of the tournament. TP mid laner, no surprise. TF, no surprise. Defs meant very little.
Yeah, I think double TP is the thing we're going to continue to see. I don't think triple TP is the thing we're going to continue to see, and I expect Def to pick more to win the lane. I think he can punish Reckless's Kennen if he continues to go for that pick. He's been practicing a lot of Caitlyn, which is something we saw yesterday, and has a very favorable matchup against the Kennen if they can manipulate that lane matchup. So I think that's what we're going to see from EDG in the next game.
Yeah, a lot of tools to work with from both sides, but it was a fantastic game one. We're going to step away for 1 second or a couple of minutes actually, but when we come back, it's going to be game two between Edward Gaming and Fnatic for that spot in the semifinal. More World 2015 coming your way right after this.
It was awesome.
I was trying to look for the goal, we did it also. I couldn't find.
Fighting the heartbreaker.
Onto the tunnel from behind. Huni throws down the Demacian stand. And the Dragon Strike. And it's first blood to Featherfin. Pawn's in so much trouble. Yellowstar needs to hit his combo. Flashes for the knock-up hit, but Pawn backwards. Vigo saves him. And EDG decimate Fnatic.
Jeff and back, Jeff and back. Nice. Base. JCQ. Good job, really good job.
And he's shut down by Dip. This could be the team fight that turns it around. 2 members of Fnatic are down for only Knilla from EDG. The knockup finds 2, the dunk finds 4, and the Maelstrom melts Edward Gaming. Fnatic are 1 step closer to a semi-final spot.